The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Filled with the Holy Spirit, Jesus returned from the Jordan and was led by the Spirit into the desert for 40 days to be tempted by the devil. He ate nothing during those days, and when they were over, he was hungry. The devil said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command this stone to become bread." Jesus answered him, "It is written, 'One does not live on bread alone.'" Then he took him up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a single instant. The devil said to him, "I shall give you all this power and glory, for it has been handed over to me, and I may give it to you to whomever I wish. All this will be yours if you worship me." Jesus said to him in reply, "It is written, 'You shall worship the Lord your God, and him alone shall you serve.'" Then he led him to Jerusalem, made him stand on the parapet of the temple, and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, throw yourself down from here, for it is written, 'He will command his angels concerning you to guard you, and with their hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against a stone.'" Jesus said to him in reply, "It also says, 'You shall not put the Lord your God to the test.'" When the devil had finished every temptation, he departed from him for a time. The Gospel of the Lord.
And we'll welcome here after the time change and pushing the time forward an hour. So I ought to give you guys stickers for being able to make it on time. And it'll be interesting to see how many people that normally go to the 10:30 Mass will actually be at the 1 o'clock Mass in Spanish. So we'll see what happens there. But in this reading here, we got in the Gospel reading from Luke chapter 4, Jesus goes off in the desert and he's tempted. He's tempted. He goes out and he's tempted in the desert. And after he gets done through all the fasting and everything else there. And through Lenten season, we have to expect to be tempted. We're going to be tempted to give up this Catholic thing. You know, a lot of people might be like, "Oh, you're Catholic, you're fasting, you shouldn't be doing that. Jesus is risen from the dead. Hallelujah," you know, all this other stuff. And yeah, we're Catholic. Yeah, we might be strange, and we do some fasting. We do fasting. And so we are going to be tempted, and we're going to be tempted because Satan's going to tempt those who are trying to come close to God. That's who he tempts. Like if he's got you, if you're going to hell already, he's not going to tempt you. He's already got you. He owns you. Right? So those who are going to be struggling and struggling to live their faith, those are the ones to be tempted. And so we see here Jesus is being tempted. And there are many different ways that we can be tempted, but I'll kind of go through here what Jesus had to go through here on the temptations here. And so the devil says to him on the first temptation, "You're the Son of God. Command the stone to become bread." You know, so Jesus is hungry, you know. And so Lenten season is like, command those little pebbles to become chocolate, right? You can have this chocolate. Go ahead. Oh, come on. Just one chocolate. It doesn't matter, you know. So the devil's going to be trying to tempt us. And it might be through friends. It could be through work. It could be through anything. It doesn't matter. Oh, come on, right? So the things, and these are the things of the flesh that the devil likes to use, you know, and we all got our own weakness, whether it's coffee, sugar, chocolate. It can be anything, any kind of addiction or anything like that too. So to kind of get us off track, anything to get us off track, to keep us from being closer to God, because that's the whole point of fasting. The whole point of fasting and giving up these things is to come closer to Jesus. to come closer to him. And so we give up these things and we offer it up. And so I encourage you to just to offer it up. So if you're giving us, we'll say chocolate, you're giving up chocolate, give it up for an intention of a person that might need those graces. So for your loved ones, so for your spouse, have that intention to do it for your spouse, for your children, for your grandchildren, for your parents, for somebody you love or somebody you know just simply that needs those graces. So when you give up those things, like I give up this chocolate for this person, I know they need help. And I offer it up for that person. What a great thing to do. So that gives us a little bit more drive to do it. And to know that that grace enters into it. And so, the devil's going to really want to try to tempt you to get out of it because now grace is entering in not just your life, but in somebody else's life. Because you chose to give up something in the same way Jesus chose to give up his life for us. And so it's a great thing to do. Second temptation is, I shall give you all this power and glory for what is I have been over to me. So all the power and glory, right? Right. You just got to worship me. And so it's pride. Like I can be king, right? King of the basketball court, king of the football field, king of the baseball field, king of whatever. Queen of sewing and queen of all this baking and, who knows, whatever it is. We get the prideful. And so any means of pride that we can be tempted with. And popularity too. See, you'll have all these things. I will support you. All these people will love you if you do this. And so that's the temptation for us. Like you're fasting? I don't know. You mean you're not going to take a drink? Come on, just come out here and party, right? So we'll like you if you do this, right? So that's the temptations of the world, and so we say no. I'm going to stick with Jesus. I'm going to stick with Jesus, and I'm not going to allow my pride or any amount of friendships to divert me from my relationship with Jesus Christ. And then we got the third temptation here. To tempt God, right? To tempt God. And you have to be careful of that, right? He will command his angels concerning you and guard you. Look at all these things I'm doing and stuff like that. And that was to be self-pride too. With the hands they will support you, lest you dash your foot against a stone. And so, trusting in God, but going in the wrong direction. It's kind of twisted. Virtue, you have to grow in virtue, right? So to grow in virtue means sometimes we have to gain self-control, which is totally what fasting is about. Fasting is about gaining self-control, not letting the tongue just go and everything else. And so we have all these different temptations. The temptations of the world, temptations of having things, popularity, and all this other stuff. But we do have to challenge ourselves that, what are we made for? We're made for heaven. One of the irony of things is that we're so caught up in our own little world. We're so caught up in our world, we're like, I got to do this, I got to get that. And even as people were like, I got my house, I got my car, got this, got that, got all these things to do. Whenever I meet somebody, like I go to the care center. Look, when I go to the care center, I don't know anybody who comes to me at the care center and says, that piece of chocolate I wanted during Lent, I really regret not having it. I really wanted that piece of chocolate during Lent 40 years ago. I've never heard that ever happen, right? I've never heard somebody say, that time when I had that opportunity to be selfish, I really wish I took advantage of that time and would have been selfish. Gosh, I really regret that. It's a funny thing. I've never, ever come across anybody at the care center who has ever thought that. You know, these are people who have lost everything. They're the care center. They don't have a car anymore. Their possessions are very minimal. You walk in the room, maybe they got a TV, a couple cards and pictures, clothes. It's about it. You know what they come to me about, what they really like? They really like the fact that they maybe done something good, and they have regrets of things where they could have been more selfless, where they could have done something better, where they could have been a light to the world, and they denied it. You see, in this Lenten season, we got to count ourselves, where are we going? Where are we going with this world and what we're doing? We live our lives outside of Lent, being selfish, kind of saying, I want this, I want that, and everything else, and then we can't take it to the grave. I mean, okay, you can take some pictures in the grave, whatever can fit in the casket, you can put in the grave, I suppose you can do that if you really wanted to. I mean, it doesn't do you much good, but, what is this all about? We think about these 40 days of Lent is just our life compressed into 40 days. We are made for heaven. We're made for God, and we're made for His glory. That's what we're made for. And we need to be striving for this glory. That's why we take these 40 days of Lent, so that we can be that light to the world, so we can strive and to struggle for that. Look, if I have chocolate, great. I can have chocolate today, great. I'm happy for what? Maybe 30 minutes? What is that compared to heaven? Heaven is eternal, and everything good is in heaven. So now, get this. If everything good is in heaven, I can have chocolate for a day, and I'm happy for a half hour. Or I can have the eternal chocolate in heaven. Which is better? Half-hour chocolate, eternal chocolate. Half-hour chocolate, eternal chocolate. Gee, which is better? I like the eternal chocolate better. So why not go for the eternal chocolate? Deny yourself that 30 minutes today and get the eternal chocolate. Get the eternal coffee. Get the eternal sugar. That's what I would rather go for, so that we can be glorified, that God can raise us up. And so, we need to struggle. And even if I struggle with giving up that chocolate, it's better than what everything this world offers. We might have our friendships, and our friendships might be saying, oh, come on, just have this drink, or have this chocolate, have this, just come out and do this stuff with us and have fun. And I might struggle with it. But, hey, I'm thinking about heaven. And if my friends aren't thinking about heaven for me, how good of a friend are they? If they're trying to pull me away from it, this is the amazing thing. Okay, I think about this. I remember when I was a child, I'd see these people, and they go out and party. They go out and they drink. They might go out and do drugs or something like that, or whatever. And they go out and drink, and maybe that my friend doesn't go out and get drunk, but they go out and party with these people. Next thing you know, they're getting drunk. They're not thinking about heaven. The next thing you know, they're getting caught up in the drugs. The next thing you know, something gets stolen. And they're like, I can't believe my friend stole something from me. Well, hello? It fits the character. Why should you be surprised? If they don't care about your eternity, what surprises you that they would steal from you? I'm so offended. Well, don't do it. Don't go there, right? So if you got to have friends who care about your eternity, that get you to heaven, that want to see you glorified. And that's what I want for you. I want to see you glorified in heaven. I look for that day that we can look at each other in heaven and see our glorified bodies and say, this is awesome. And then we're totally free. That's the true party. The true party in heaven, where it's eternal. No regrets. No regrets at all. Just total joy and peace, where all of us are at peace with each other and hoping the good for each other. And so know that we've got really good friends in heaven. So we get so concerned about our popularity here, just like the second temptation. Oh, you'll be liked by me if you do this, right? Well, okay, you're worried about popularity, so you try to please people here on earth. But what about trying to please people in heaven? Okay, you're thinking about maybe what somebody else thinks here on earth, but what do they think in heaven about these actions? I mean, isn't that the kind of popularity that we want? The popularity of the saints, where they could say, wow, that person is awesome. Do you see that awesomeness, that light, that shines from that person? I mean, isn't that the kind of popularity we want? You know, as opposed to the regrets. Waking up in the morning and saying, oh my gosh, what did I do? You know, and it starts with this Lenten season. To know that, you know, God wants us. He wants to glorify us. That's the whole point. It's the whole point of why we're here. For God to glorify us in heaven, that we can come to true fulfillment and true joy. And so we look forward to that day. I look forward to the day, see you in heaven, in your glorified body, that we may rejoice in His mercy and love, to know that throughout all the struggle, it was worth it. I look forward to that day of eternal chocolate.